Live to that summit in Cape Town now, our reporter Artie in Ghana watching it for you. Artie, good afternoon. What developments there?
Well, the developments here, Stephen, are that members of the media have now been moved out of the session where the ministers gave opening remarks to the meeting that they are now currently having. So we are standing by. In just a few hours, we're expecting them to host a media briefing. Of course, they'll field questions from members of the media. Already, the Minister of International Relations, Dr. Naledi Pandor, has already fielded a lot of questions, of course, around this topical issue of the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, whether he will attend the BRICS summit, whether he will be arrested when he gets here or not. And interestingly, not so long ago in Parliament, when the Minister of Police was there delivering the crime statistics, we tried to get a question to him around this issue. Of course, they form part of the security cluster in South Africa, and his response around this issue around President Putin was that they are discussing it as the security cluster. And certainly, as members of the executive cabinet, you may be aware that President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday, when he was presenting the presidency budget vote, he did allude to him sending ministers out to go and explain South Africa's stance with regards to this current conflict that is taking place between Russia and Ukraine. But I do have Clayson, who is the head of diplomacy, who's going to talk to us about what the minister is really emphasizing in those opening remarks, Clayson, is the inclusion of Africa through the BRICS nations, and obviously extending through the global reach and making sure that they also strengthen their ties with those BRIC nations, also including Africa.
Yeah, so Africa remains the centerpiece of South Africa's foreign policy. So the African countries that have expressed an interest to join the BRICS formation, for us it's an exciting development because we are about the African agenda, and as the only African country in BRICS, it is in our interest to see more African countries being part of a formation that the global South views as being very strategic because of its impact, because of its influence in countering some geopolitical developments, changing the global order a little bit. I'm sure you've seen that there's about 19 countries on record now that have expressed an interest to join. And in fact, tomorrow, the five BRICS foreign ministers will be meeting with the friends of BRICS. Some of the other foreign ministers have arrived: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bangladesh, and others. So that meeting will take place tomorrow. So it is an exciting development for BRICS because it says that other countries can see the work that we've been doing as BRICS countries and want to be part of this.
Now, it's interesting that you speak of the geopolitical landscape. I'm interested to find out from your perspective, given the foreign or international reportage around BRICS, especially right now with these issues around President Vladimir Putin. I just want to find out from you whether these reports suggesting that these BRICS nations want to form some kind of a force that will outweigh or outthrow, if you may, the Western geopolitical dominance.
Well, I think some will argue that that is already happening, which is why many countries are gravitating towards BRICS. It's not a small thing to have 19 countries, and in the list you see there are some heavy and big hitters who want to be part of the BRICS formation. Of course, our position as South Africa is that whatever we do, whatever decisions are finally taken with regards to the expansion of BRICS, we're not trying to create a forum that will compete with the United Nations, because the UN remains the premier organ for multilateralism and this rule-based order international system that we are part of. So that has to be protected. However, it's critical and strategic for countries that are like-minded, that share the same values, particularly of democracy, to have a platform to meet and talk and discuss and share ideas in terms of how things should happen. And you've seen the institutions that BRICS has formed, which are making a difference. The New Development Bank, for one, which has, by the way, funded some critical projects in South Africa to the benefit of the men and women in the street. So it is an exciting discussion, this matter of the expansion of BRICS.
Before I let you go, Clayson, let's talk about perhaps let me say, clear out the reports that seek to suggest that the BRICS summit is going to be moved. I mean, the minister not so long ago emphasizing that it's going to take place in Johannesburg, as opposed to the other reports which suggested Durban. But now there's also this idea that it might be moved. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I would want everybody to just step back a little bit and not run ahead of processes. I am going to be joining, supporting our principals on Monday. The IMC that has been constituted by Cabinet, led by Deputy President Paul Mashatile, is processing the file on the matter of the ICC, the warrant issued against President Putin, and how South Africa must manage that. There is a legal opinion. This matter is in the public domain. All of these matters will be considered, the legalese, all the legalities around this, and a decision that will eventually be taken will be announced to the country. As we speak today, the BRICS Summit is planned for the 22nd to the 24th of August in the year of our Lord 2023 in Johannesburg, South Africa. Sandton Convention Center to be exact. I don't know where this Durban thing comes from. Cabinet has approved the Sandton Convention Center, Johannesburg, as the venue for the summit. That's where we are, and we expect the BRICS countries to participate. Until we are advised otherwise, this is the status quo.
All right, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. Well, you heard it, Stephen, the BRICS Summit taking place in Johannesburg in August, and talks to move it. Clayson clarifying those reports, saying it is going to be taking place in August this year in Johannesburg and not in Durban. So in just a few moments, Stephen, we're going to be having the ministers here seated behind me hosting a media briefing where they'll engage with members of the media from South Africa and, of course, from abroad, as we are joined by our international counterparts here at the 12 Apostles Hotel in Cape Town.
Tintin Ghana, live from Cape Town. Thank you very much indeed. We do expect that press conference, as she says, to start soon.